Leon Edwards, the most underrated UFC champion. And quickly to the defense of that was Gilbert Burns. Now, if anybody has the right to share an opinion about who belongs where in the mind's eye at 170 pounds, it's Gilbert Burns. Not to mention, Gilbert historically is a little light on the compliments of fellow competitors, particularly ones that he's striving to get to. Like, Gilbert has made nothing a secret about the fact that he is still here for one thing, which is to be champion. Not only verbally does he make that clear, he is willing to compete with anybody that will bring him closer to the championship. So it was very interesting to hear Gilbert put Leon over. And it was very nice. It was very refreshing. But it did get my attention. Is Leon the most underrated champion? And you got to understand, the question is not, the statement here is not, is Leon Edwards underrated? It's not even, is Leon Edwards an underrated fighter? That's a completely different conversation. It changes when they say champion. Now we're putting him in a unique field. We're only looking at other champions. That's it. We're not looking at other fighters. And that is where things start to get a little bit interesting. I will tell you, within my heart, yes. Yes, he couldn't be rated any less. I forgot he was champion until I saw this article. Not the slightest bit trying to be funny. I forget constantly that his last fight, which was his third and final fight to this point, against Kamaru Usman, was a title defense. I constantly forget that. I always think that's the night that he won the belt, but that's not true. It's not true. So let's back up. When Leon was a fighter, I don't think us, the public, could possibly be blamed for underrating it. The rankings committee had him at number 3. And Leon did not shout that from the rooftops. Leon had 8 fights in a row where he had never lost. It has to be worded like that because he had a draw in there with Blah. But we were the ones putting him over. We were the ones demanding he get his attention. We're the ones that got him the fight with Nate Diaz, and we never even said the word Nate Diaz. The public demanded that he get a feature match. They didn't want to main event him. They couldn't main event him. Meanwhile, you can't deny him forever. He's won 8 in a row. He's ranked number 3 in the world. It was almost the rejection of opportunity for Leon that got us all behind Leon. That's true. The pandemic hit. Few people had it harder than he did within the sport. Even though he belonged to a sports organization that was going to continue on, he couldn't get there. They were saying like he was locked down in his country. He couldn't get to the island. He couldn't get to the apex. So as a fighter and as a contender, I can't say that he was underrated at all. Because underrated speaks to an appreciation and respect, not your actual ranking. He's ranked number 1. So when you're talking about he's an underrated fighter, you're really talking about an appreciation and a perception. When people view him, along with, in this category specifically, other champions. Yeah, that's true. I don't know that that is a reflection of skill, though. I don't think if you took him and other champions, say, okay, he's at the bottom of the rung. No, I don't think that it's like that. As far as appreciation, dying to see him fight, asking him to see him fight, having sports shows that cover the sport, calling and asking for him to come on and be a guest, yeah, I would assume he's probably at the very bottom. I had truly forgotten that last fight he had was his first title defense. In fact, when I sat down to make this piece and Gilbert put him in that specific category of champion, he's the most underrated champion, and then Gilbert defended him. No, he's not. He's awesome. My very first thought is, well, I'm going to talk about the fact that, he's had the belt since March. He's never defended it. He's never tried to defend it. He appears to be unwilling to defend it. And I realize that none of that is accurate. He's been the champion since last year. So I offer and just suggest to you, more than anything, that we really remember what we're talking about when we talk about somebody being underrated. Like when Gilbert came in and defended him, Gilbert defended him on Gilbert's interpretation of the question, which was purely his skills. Gilbert said, man, this guy is great. In fact, he even went into detail. He talked about how good his grappling was, how good his conditioning was, what his IQ, his awareness. Gilbert even defended him, said, look, he doesn't fight that often. So people don't see, but he's in the practice room. And then he talked about specifically the grappling, the scrambles, the weight. Gilbert really broke this thing down from an X's and O's standpoint. But that was Gilbert's interpretation of the question. It's not what the question was, at least by my interpretation. Gilbert went even further when talking about Leon and said that Leon could beat Colby any day of the week. Now, again, that's an X's and O's from the physicality and the skills of Leon. It wasn't the question. Is he an underrated champion? And I'm saying he's a low-rated champion, but I'm also attempting to break down for you that this has to do with the perception. And where do you get that perception? You get that perception by competing. You get that perception by being out there. You get that perception for being in the mind's eye. You get that perception for letting the world know that you want to fight, that you're trying to fight, that you don't want to hold up a division, that you want to get on with it, that all the things that happened to you when you had to fight 8 guys in a row, none of which could beat you, holding a number 3 ranking. I mean, guys, let's not forget. We defended Leon to the point that when there was an eraser trying to erase his name, they tried to erase his name with Khamzat Chimaev, who the public said, put him in for the belt right now, he's ready. Khamzat Chimaev, as great as he looked, as undefeated as he was, as quickly as he was in and out of there, by weight classes, the whole bit, all this wonderful stuff, and I got to take you down memory lane because they don't talk about Khamzat. One of the great unintentional marketing pieces ever, and they just let it go. But at any rate, try to bring Khamzat Chimaev to take on Leon. Everybody's looking around going, this guy's ranked number 3, this guy's not ranked at all. And our problem with the fight is we're well aware that the guy that's not ranked could beat the guy that's number 3. But the guy that's number 3 has earned the right to avoid guys like that. And we did that. We did that for him. But to act as though there's not an appreciation, no, there's not an appreciation for Leon. But why would there be? I mean, if we're going to go off of what Gilbert said because he's really good at grappling, who cares? Lots of guys are good at grappling. Guys that aren't even signed are good at grappling, I would assume. Because he's got a pace, because he's got conditioning, because he's got good takedown defense. So what? Lots of guys have that, including the guy that's making the statement about him. So what? That's an interchangeable mediocrity. He can get a guy, he can get the guy right down to the ground. That's not where appreciation comes from. That's not where ranking comes from. That's not where rated comes from. That comes from the mind eye of the people. Do they want to see him? Do they want to move his career along? And I will tell you, I mean, that's a two-way street. If you see this as a straight-up competition, you are just going to fully focus and you're going to buckle your head down. There's going to be a different path for you. And it can be a very glorious one. I think it is for him. There's a bunch of money and there's respect and there's some really good things that come with that. But that, within the question of being underrated, within perception, within the mind's eye. Again, what is the difference between him who's champion and the guys that we know that exist in the practice rooms around the world that are yet to be discovered? The next Leon, the next Khamzat Chimaev, the top guy in the world who's yet to be discovered. What's the difference? What's the difference between them? The exposure. That's it. The exposure, the media. Once they get the exposure, once they figure out media a little bit, they'll get signed to a top organization. It's perception. Perception and reality, we always hear that goes hand in hand. That's true, but I've never in my life seen anything that makes it more clear than this sport. Is Leon undervalued? No. No. Is Leon underranked? No. Is Leon awesome? Mm-hmm. Is Leon underappreciated in consideration to other champions? For me, I forgot he was champion. So if I was to be fair, yeah,